This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Work can be a little weird. Cringy training seminars, coworkers who won't stop talking about their plant, forgetting the mute button at an inopportune moment. We have to deal with a lot on any given workday. Sometimes it can feel hard to thrive and move forward in your career. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in. LinkedIn helps you get ideas and insights from experts in your field, connect with people professionally, grow your network, and access tools designed to help you find the right fit for your next role. Whether you're just getting started, figuring out your next move, or looking to accelerate your career, LinkedIn is built to support you at every stage because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more. Stuff at Sea is a 5-night adults-only sailing trip that brings the Stuff podcast universe to life on board. This voyage is a culture-soaked escape where pink sand paradise meets curious minds. Sailing round trip from New York City to Bermuda on October 2nd to 7th, 2026, this voyage drops you straight into the iHeart Podcast Stuff universe. On top of the adults-only experience you already love, you'll get live podcast episode recordings, behind-the-scenes sessions, themed activations, and more unmissable onboard moments. Learn more at virginvoyages.com/stuff.
Hey everybody, Josh and I are going on tour again to basically wrap up 2023 on the road in Orlando, Florida first, then Nashville, Tennessee, and then wrapping it up here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, and you can listen to next Tuesday's episode for details on when we'll be there and where to get tickets and all that stuff, but we just wanted to give you guys a heads up. And if you don't feel like listening to Tuesday's episode, you can still get all of your info at linktree/SYSK or our website, stuffyoushouldknow.com.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know, a production of iHeartRadio.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh Clark, and there's Charles W. Chuck Bryant. And here, too, is Jerry Rowland, if Jerry Rowland exists. And this is Stuff You Should Know.
Can I make just a quick thank you?
Yeah.
Make a thank you?
Make away.
I meant bake a thank you. Sorry.
Sure. Build a thank you. Like a cookie.
I mentioned in that one episode that I was going to put pictures of my new podcast studio up.
Yeah, I saw it.
And then that episode came out. Thank you. And I put it up. And everyone was just so nice and sweet. And I just want to say thanks. And also, I want to say sorry to you because that post now just supplanted a picture of you and I as my most popular ever post on Instagram.
Really? I'm sick of that post.
It just passed it today. That picture of when we did our secret mission out to the desert in January was my previous most popular post ever.
Okay. But you should have probably taken down this new post just before it topped it. I'm not sure why you didn't.
No, I had a counter. I was like, here it comes. Here it comes.
I'll bet. And then you had like a confetti and a little noisemaker.
That's right. And then the picture of us just dissolved.
No, we just aged and turned into mummies in the picture.
That's right, because it's not reality, right?
It isn't reality. That's a great segue, Chuck, because I have a question to kick this one off.
Sure.
Chuck, are you hallucinating right now?
Unfortunately, no, but philosophers might say that I am.
Yeah, not just philosophers, neuroscientists, physicists, biologists maybe, evolutionary biologists in particular, especially ones that are hip to this whole thing, would say, yeah, you're hallucinating right now, and so are you, Josh, and so are you, Jerry, if you do exist. You're hallucinating every single thing you're looking at, smelling, hearing, touching, that none of this is real. And we're talking today about whether reality is real or not. And there's a very deep, like mind-blowing aspect to it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's where a lot of people leave it. It's just like, isn't this the craziest stuff these people are talking about? But there's more to it than that. And like I've realized that in investigating the nature of reality, we end up learning more about ourselves than we do about reality. And I just find that endlessly fascinating.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. I know what you mean because this article, and by the way, big shout out to Dave Ruse because you threw him this topic as if it was just like, hey, do one on elephants. And it was tough. And Dave even had to take a rare second stab at it because it's just really hard to nail something like this down. This sort of it's hard to not delve into philosophical navel gazing with stuff like this. And we've covered some philosophy stuff here and there.
Sure.
And it's always kind of fun, but my deal with philosophy was I did pretty. I took one class in college and did pretty well in it. I think I made an A or a B. But the same thing happened in that class as it happens every time we tackle it. Is I'm lost and then annoyed, and then eventually kind of come around and think it's cool and understand it a little bit.
So that's where you are with this?
Yeah, I think it's like the fifth or sixth time I went through it, I was like, all right, this is actually kind of cool. Whereas before I was like, I hate all this stuff. Of course, everything is, that apple is real. I can see it. I can taste it. But now I kind of get it.
Now you know that you're dead wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and I want to point out, Dave didn't have to do a second attempt at this. We didn't ask him to, but we had taken so long to getting around to doing it. He's like, here, I revised this. Maybe you can do it now.
Is that how it went down?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We definitely didn't say like, I was just like, okay, this is, thanks for doing this, Dave, and we'll do it when we can.
And he's like, I've noticed you haven't recorded that episode.
Very much. So thank you to Dave for sure. So people have been thinking about whether what we think and see and feel is real for a really long time. It's probably one of the first things we ever thought of that was, kind of deep since we started eating mushrooms and developed the consciousness.
Yeah, and as we go through this, it's it makes sense that as we go through it, it's kind of in a timeline of different philosophers, and as we learned more about science, things were tweaked and changed all the way up, and then eventually we end up with some modern day like TED Talkers, or one in particular. So it kind of makes sense that things would morph and change philosophically over time as we talk about things like, is time even real?
Yeah, but if you really look at it, and especially if you're paying attention later on as we get more into modern interpretations, they bear a striking resemblance to some of the first cracks at explaining whether reality is real to us. Yeah. And one of the first people that we know of who really tried to tackle this was Plato. And he came up with a very famous allegory of the cave, where people are, he calls them prisoners. They're situated in a cave. They're chained up. They're not able to turn around. So all they can do is face the back wall of the cave. Behind them is a fire. And then on the other side of the fire, no, I already messed it up. Sorry, Plato. Behind them is a fire. And then between them and the fire are people who can move around. They're puppeteers. They can cast shadows from the campfire onto the wall. And all the prisoners have ever experienced are the shadows on the wall. So to them, that's real. But in reality, what's actually real are the puppets that the people are showing behind them that they can't see. So what they think is real is actually just a simulacrum, like kind of a distilled version of the actual reality. And that was Plato's take on the whole thing.
Yeah. Like, here's a bunny. This is Richard Nixon. What else?
But what we think of as Richard Nixon is a distilled form of what actually is Richard Nixon.
Yeah, and the key to doing Richard Nixon is in the knuckles.
Does he crack his knuckles a lot?
No. I'm talking about shadow puppets.
The trick is a mayonnaise knuckle.
I can actually do a few shadow puppets pretty well.
Oh, which ones?
I can do one's kind of a rabbity gargoyle, and then I can do like an alligator, and I can do a some other long-snouted animal with an ear, maybe a dog.
Sure.
I can do a few things.
That's really great, man.
I used to monkey around with it, and then a few years ago when Ruby was little, there was a light casting, and I was like, hey, check this out. And her mind was blown. I was like, still got it.
Yeah. Were you like, Plato would have loved you, kid?
Yeah. And she was like, who? So anyway, Plato basically is saying that the material world around us and how we perceive it is not a reliable thing. And what he believed in as the truth is something he called forms, or maybe ideas, but we're going to use the word form as we move forward into Aristotle. Yeah.
As Dave puts it, that our perceived reality, according to Plato, is just the shadow of an objective higher truth. Makes sense.
Yes.
But what he's saying is what we said, what's in front of you, Richard Nixon, your Apple, it's not actually real. It's just a version of that. And along came Aristotle, who was a contemporary of Plato. I think he learned directly from Plato, if I'm not mistaken. But in this case, he disagreed with Plato. He said, Plato, you're kind of on the right track, but these things are not totally separate in the way that a shadow is not truly related to the object that's casting the shadow. It's something detached from it. These things are attached. Like, yes, there's an actual objective, real form, but the thing that we perceive is somehow tied to it. And it's tied to it through what Aristotle called forms. So forms were, in a human, are soul, whereas the organic body is the matter. So you have matter and forms.
Yeah. And, eventually science would come into the picture slowly. So if we go a few centuries ahead in time, the nature of reality and truth as people knew it started to change once science started saying you're kind of wrong about a lot of stuff. And a good example Dave gives here is, we thought the Earth was the center of the universe for a long time. Astronomy comes along and math comes along and says, no, that's actually not true. So now there's actually a basis for saying, hey, what you think is true and what you think is reality might not actually be the case. And we're starting to prove that a little bit. And Galileo steps in, and this is in the 17th and 16th and 17th centuries. And he comes along basically and says, and this is an actual quote, I think that tastes, odors, colors, and so on are no more than mere names so far as the object in which we place them is concerned, that they reside only in the consciousness. Hence, if we living creatures were removed, all these qualities would be wiped away and annihilated, meaning, in other words, and this is something we're going to kind of repeat here and there, it's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? What Galileo's saying is it's only because we've assigned these things color and odor and taste that they have color and odor and taste.
Right. They don't inherently possess these objects. Something exists, but it doesn't exist in the form that we perceive it as. It's probably far more complex.
That's right.
Or at the very least different. What's interesting is that quote could have been written by anyone today researching that. Like, that's a very contemporary understanding of what's going on. And that was Galileo back in the 16th and 17th century. It's pretty cool. John Locke was the next one to really kind of contribute to it. And what he came up with was similar to Plato and Aristotle's take. He said that everything has two types of qualities. Primary qualities, which is the actual objective reality of the thing. An apple, it's just for some reason it's the easiest example for some reason. But an apple has form. It has like size. It has shape. It has bulk to it. It cannot move. That's a big primary characteristic of it. Like the apple itself isn't inherently red. There's a certain arrangement of electrons inside the apple's skin, or that make up the apple's skin, that absorb some kinds of wavelengths of light and reflect back the red wavelength of light, and that's what we see, that hits our eye. But that doesn't mean that the apple itself is red in any way whatsoever. It's just that's what we perceive.
Yeah, it doesn't even hit our eye. It hits the receptors in our eye, those rods and cones.
Yep.
And it just sends dumb data messages to our smart brain.
Right. But then there's secondary qualities, things like its taste, its color, shininess, and that the secondary qualities are the things that we lay on top of it, that's our perception. But that if you took away our perception, what would be left are the size, the bulk, the inability of the apple to move. Those things are objective and unchanging.
Yeah, and he labeled those. One was called extension, and that's the fact that it just takes up physical space in a place. And then permanence, it does that at a specific time, so it exists in time. And then the last one is it interacts with other objects, and he called that causal powers. And that can be anything from just the air around it to the desk that it's sitting on or whatever.
Sure.
Which are also constructs.
Yes, we'll get to that. And then I think the last contributor to the historical understanding of reality, at least one of the big shot ones, was Immanuel Kant. he was a German mathematician philosopher from the Enlightenment era, I believe. Yeah. And he basically, he wasn't so much after like, okay, what is the nature of reality? His question was even more basic than that. It was, can we even possibly perceive actual reality? And after thinking about it, really kind of ho-humming on it for a little bit, he said, no, I don't believe we ever possibly can. And that forms the basis for the modern exploration of reality.
Yeah, he was one of those that pushed it even further and said, all right, so I'm digging what you're saying, that red apple, that color isn't really real and the shape isn't really real. So, Locke, what you were saying about these primary qualities even, that it exists in time and space, like, dude, that is in your head as well. Like, those don't even exist. They exist in our minds. And so we can't even conceive of anything. We can't know really anything.
Yeah, he went so far as to say, like, science and math, which describes the basic laws of the universe quite accurately. These are constructs themselves. Like, what we're actually describing are hallucinations that we all share in common.
Mm-hmm. Or he called them appearances.
Yeah, and in fact, he called science and math appearances of appearances. And he was saying, like, we're never going to be able to figure this out. And luckily, Kant was wrong, because we do seem to be kind of on a track to figuring things out a little more.
All right, man, that was a robust, 13 minutes, I think.
I think so, too.
So let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Stuff you should know. Josh and Chuck. Stuff you should know.
We've all had the experience of calling a business and just wanting to talk to a real person. Not an automated voice pretending to be human, an actual person who can listen and understand and offer help.
That's exactly what you can do with Ruby. Ruby is the virtual receptionist company that takes care of your callers when you're unavailable in the middle of something or simply don't want to pick up.
That's right. They can answer, screen, transfer calls. They can take messages, collect payments, book appointments, and more, all while making the people you serve feel special.
And best of all, it can help you be more productive. For example, 9 out of 10 lawyers who use Ruby log more billable hours per day than the national average.
And other professionals like plumbers and technicians win more customers while being able to stay focused on the job. But whatever kind of small business you run, Ruby is built to save you time, earn you more customers or clients, and make meaningful connections with the people you serve.
It's available 24/7, 365 days a year, and 100% based in the U.S. See why more than 15,000 small businesses use Ruby. Visit ruby.com, or better yet, call them at 844-900-RUBY.
The springtime thaw is finally here. Flowers are blooming, days are longer. We're saying yes to more plans and finally getting outside, running, walking, just moving again. It's the perfect time to upgrade your everyday go-tos with Bombas. Take Bombas Sport Socks. They're super comfortable and designed with sport-specific tech for running, cycling, yoga, hiking, you name it. I use them to run in, and I can tell you they work beautifully. So head over to bombas.com and use code SYSK for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com, code SYSK at checkout.
So you're considering getting a home security system, but you want something that fits your space. Well, with ADT Blue, it's easy to customize a system that's right for you and set it up yourself. Just pick the kit and monitoring plan that makes sense for your home.
Yeah, well, let's say you're worried about package theft right off your front porch. The ADT Plus app can walk you through setting up a new doorbell camera kit. Once it's installed, ADT Pros can help you keep tabs on it 24/7, or you can manage it yourself from the ADT Plus app.
That's right. There are no long-term contracts, so you can change your monitoring plan whenever you want. The flexibility doesn't end there either. You can add to your system as you need with things like extra cameras or motion sensors.
Some life decisions are hard, but thanks to ADT Blue, you can get DIY trusted ADT home security in a snap. Head to ADT.com/BLU to build your system today. And to find out more about home protection, check out a new episode of Grown Up Stuff with security expert Joe Mazza, out now on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, so we've been kind of teasing it, and I think just probably saying it outright too. Some of these early philosophers really kind of hit the nail on the head as far as our current understanding goes. And one of the big contributions, or one of the big contributors of the 20th and especially 21st century to exploring what the basis of reality is, was neuroscience. Neuroscience has said, okay, well, wait a minute. There's something that we all need to kind of explore. If all of this is just in our minds, which is what's suggested, we have ways of looking into the mind. So let's figure out what's actually going on.
Yeah, and this, I realize that as I have had problems with some deep philosophical things like this, listeners to some of this stuff might, it's not for everyone. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, I get it if some people are listening and being like, wait a minute, what are you even talking about when we say things like our eyes don't see and our ears don't hear? But we're going to explain it in a sciencey way that I think grounds it, as others have before us. This is not like our ideas.
Right.
But it is true that our eyes don't actually really see and our tongues don't actually taste. What we have is a system, which is our body and our brain working together. So we have all these receptors that capture this data, basically, and we send it to the brain, which is, and we're going to reiterate this too, the brain does great work, but the brain is inside the skull. It's trapped in there. The brain isn't eyes and ears and tongue and stuff like that.
Right.
It just works with whatever sensory data is sent to it from those receptors, from those organs, and says, all right, here's what I think is going on in a way that will make sense to you walking around in the world.
Yeah, and that's what produces our conscious experience. That translation of electromagnetic waves and acoustic waves just hitting like our raw. The way that I got this finally was to start thinking of our eyes and ears and tongues like antenna on a bug.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? And that the brain just puts all that sensory information together. And one of the ways that we've shown, indisputably, that this happens are through optical illusions. There's so many optical illusions out there. One of the most famous is the checkerboard, where there's a cylinder casting a shadow across the checkerboard, and there's gray squares and white squares. And if you link these two squares together, you realize they're actually the same color. It's just the brain sees a shadow being cast, so it's darkening one of those squares where really it's the exact same color. And so what neuroscience did was to step up and say, okay, let's investigate exactly where this weird illusion is happening. And what they found that in cases of visual illusions, optical illusions, the eyes are sending the correct data. They're seeing the illusion for what it is. They can see that those checkerboards are the same color. It's when it gets transferred to the frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe starts putting together a picture of reality based on past experience and physical laws and things like that. It says, no, that's not possible. This is actually two different colors, and produces the illusion in our conscious experience.
Yeah, and they've shown this with the Wonder Machine, with the fMRI machine in experiments. It's literally just the brain saying, well, that ain't right, so I'm going to tell you that it's this based on everything that you've ever seen in your life that really makes sense.
Right. And so the upshot of all that is we can demonstrate that the brain does not give us any sort of accurate picture of reality. It gives us a rough sketch, a good enough sketch of reality to allow us to navigate the universe. So we know for a fact that what we see and perceive is not actual reality. The question then becomes is just how removed from actual reality is our conscious experience as human beings?
Yeah. And you know what? I haven't gone through it yet, but we have an upcoming episode at some point that I've been avoiding on stereograms. The hidden eye pictures that were such a big deal in the 90s.
So big.
And I'm sure that all of this stuff is in there because that's kind of what you're talking about, or what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The frontal lobe taking perfectly good, legitimate information and putting it together in wacky ways. And I would guess that would be the basis of a stereogram too.
Yeah. There's a sailboat there. You don't see it? Look harder.
Yeah. There's the Tasmanian devil.
Did you ever see a Tasman?
I don't know if I'm
great.
just imagining that because he was huge at the same time, but I'm sure there was a Tasmanian devil stereogram.
Or was it a mud flap of the Tasmanian devil and it said back off?
That was Yosemite Sam.
Oh, that's right.
Remember he had the two guns kind of pointing at you a little bit?
I even had him in my brain, but, is that even real?
Very nice, Chuck.
Okay. So here's, to me, where it gets really, really interesting. We've sort of laid the groundwork. It all makes sense to me. Hopefully it's making sense to listeners.
I feel like, we've been laying it down pretty clearly.
Yeah, I think so. But here's where it gets interesting to me, because why is this happening? And the reason is, like, what you have to do is you don't have to, but it's very beneficial, I think, to look at almost everything that we are able to do through a lens of evolution and natural selection. So, like, there has to be, because in that lies a fundamental reason why your brain is doing this. There has to be a reason why this is happening. And it turns out, when you look at it through that lens, it makes sense. And, like, I don't know if this is, this is still philosophical stuff, but, like, it all makes total sense to me.
Yeah, the basis of anytime you bring evolution or natural selection into the picture, you're basically saying, okay, whatever's going on actually improves our chances of survival.
Yeah.
So there's a psychologist from, I think, UC Berkeley. Don't quote me on that. His name's Donald Hoffman. And he is one of the, I guess, leading researchers into the nature of reality right now. And his hypotheses seem to be pretty au courant, right?
I bet it's Berkeley.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
The basis of his interpretation is that we see a rough sketch of the world around us because that's the version of reality that is most likely to allow us to survive, or was over the millions of years of our evolution to this point.
By the way, he's from UC Irvine.
Oh, so close.
It seemed very much like a Berkeley kind of thing to do.
For
but
sure.
Irvine, who knew?
At least I didn't say Davis.
Or San Berdue. Oof.
Ooh, I didn't even want to bring that up.
What was the last thing you said? I'm sorry.
I said that he was saying, like, the reason that we have a rough sketch of reality is because natural selection has said that is the version of reality that will keep humans alive most likely.
Right. Okay. So you have to remember what we said earlier, because this all ties together. Is that we got to reiterate the brain is in its skull. It is only receiving these messages that it's given from these receptors. Evolution is the same thing. Evolution is also blind in a sense. Natural selection isn't favoring one thing over another to try to get what's accurate as far as reality goes.
Right.
It's unbiased. Natural selection is only going to favor the reality that's going to give you that chance to survive. And this is the point where I got fairly confused, but then it all came back around with the desktop analogy. But I do have to admit, this before the desktop thing, I was pretty lost right here, and still sort of am.
Okay, so one of the examples that I've seen Hoffman use to describe what he's talking about at this point is, let's say we had developed the ability to see oxygen or levels of concentrations of oxygen in the air, right?
Okay.
We need oxygen to breathe. So in his example, the greener the air, the more oxygen there is. The redder the air, the less oxygen there is, right? So if we had just been gifted with a view of the actual reality, so we saw the gradient that was present in any given parcel of air that we were standing around, that doesn't mean that we know what gradient we want or that will help us survive. Instead, what we were gifted with in this analogy was the ability to see red and stay away from that because it will kill us, or green and go to that because that was the amount of oxygen that we know we need to survive, right? We don't know how much oxygen is in the air. And as far as natural selection is concerned, it doesn't matter if we know how much oxygen is in the air. We just need to know that green air is where we want to be. The red air is where we want to stay away from. Or back to the apple example, we know that the red apple is the one we want to eat. The black rotted apple is the one we want to stay away from. But then you have to take it back to the beginning. The apple's not actually red. So somewhere along the way, our brains and natural selection got together to allow us to see colors. And because we could see colors, that was the way we began to interact with the world. Because we can taste things, that's the way we interact with the world. There are plenty of other ways to interact with the world. There are plenty of things that we're missing about the world because we only have these particular 5 senses, but that's all humans needed to survive as a species. That's why we don't see the full picture of reality.
You did it.
Thank God. Because that is the hardest part for sure.
That's the part that kept breaking my brain. You had that oxygen thing in your hip pocket. You didn't let me know about that. So
I did, my friend. I sent it to you.
You did?
Yeah, but it was in a flurry of emails for sure. So I did.
It was behind the curtain, everyone. There's always a few things leading up to an episode here and there that we try to lock in early as possible. But this one was just like, oh, and I think this, and probably this will help.
Right.
It was kind of like akin to like as someone is shoving us out on stage. They're like, and just remember, guys, this is the key to it all.
Right. They shove us out on stage, but they make sure to flash that shepherd's hook that they've gotten already if we screw up.
That's right. All right. So I get that now. Now we're going to talk about what I mentioned before, which really brings it home in a very understandable way, is the desktop analogy. I'm having a hard time saying that for some reason. And this is Hoffman again from Irvine, and by way of Berkeley. And here's the analogy. All you have to do is look at your laptop and your desktop screen, and you've got icons all over it. You've got those blue folders that have all the things that might have like a Word document or an MP3 file or whatever's on your desktop.
Ooh, an MP3 file. Did you get it off Napster?
I did. Our MP3 is not even a thing anymore.
I don't think so. I don't think they call them MP3.
I don't even know. What are they now?
I think they just call them songs.
Okay, I just listen to music. Oh, boy. So here's the deal. You see all that stuff. You know that you're supposed to click on that blue folder and click on that Word document if you want to get your Word file up. But all that stuff is just a user interface, a graphical user interface that we know how to interact with. What's really going on is there's a system in the guts of that computer that is hard at work with ones and zeros, but we wouldn't know how to make heads or tails of that stuff if we didn't have these icons that represented the things that we want to interact with on that desktop. And those icons, my friends, is the same thing as that apple on the desk. The apple is an icon the same way as that blue folder on your desktop is an icon. It's just something that we have assigned so that we can interact with it.
Yeah, because we couldn't possibly get done what we want to get done by interacting with real reality. That's not how we see things. We see things as like shadows on the cave wall, right? I love the desktop analogy.
Man.
There's another part of that desktop icon analogy, too, that's a consequence of this whole hypothesis, right? And that is when you turn your computer off, that folder icon ceases to exist. It doesn't keep running in the background. It's gone. It does not exist. The circuitry, the software, the operating system that produces that desktop icon, that continues to exist. And when you turn the computer back on, the icon exists again. But in the meantime, it ceases to exist. And that is analogous to this interpretation of reality, that when you stop looking at an apple, that apple ceases to exist. The thing that produces that apple, whether it's some grand circuitry that we're unaware of that's actually base reality, or it's some data combined with a simple algorithm that produces our experience of reality, whatever produces it is still there, just like the circuitry and the operating system in the computer is still there. But the apple doesn't exist any longer because there's no human around to experience it, because apples only exist the way we see them in the reality that humans experience. That's the only place they exist.
By the way, you said operating system. I think we call that an OS now.
Sorry, Mr. MP3.
By the way, we should totally have T-shirts that say stuff you should know on the front, and on the back it just says everything is an icon.
I think that's a great idea.
But not, well, that might be confusing though. They might think they mean icon as in an iconoclast.
Well, we could put in parentheses, listen to the reality episode and you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we'll put okay, question mark, because we don't want to boss anybody around.
So if you were confused by what what Josh was just talking about, we have to look at it again through that lens of natural selection and evolution, because our brains have, let's talk about the apple again. Our brains evolved to see that color, like you said, as something that is ripe and delicious and that will give us nutrition to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
But our brains weren't evolving in isolation. Everything else was evolving along with it, including that apple. And that apple evolved to be red, so we would eat it and eventually spread those seeds so it could survive as well and grow more apples. So evolution itself is that desktop.
Right. That's what created that desktop. It's not our brains just like we just came up with this kind of thing. It was working in conjunction with evolution. It's just what we evolved to experience. And so in that sense, this to me was super reassuring when I realized this.
Yeah.
That means that there's no big mystery. There's no purposeful veil that like God or the universe or somebody cast over us to prevent us from seeing real reality. The reason we don't see real reality is because we just didn't evolve to see reality that way. We evolved to see reality in a different way. And that even though we know that there's other aspects of reality we don't sense, that doesn't mean that there's something forever beyond our grasp, like Immanuel Kant suggested.
I agree. All right, Neo, I think we'll go take the red pill, or is it the blue pill?
I always say, why not both?
Yeah, exactly. We'll be right back.
Stuff you should know. Josh and Chuck. Stuff you should know.
We've all had the experience of calling a business and just wanting to talk to a real person. Not an automated voice pretending to be human, an actual person who can listen and understand and offer help.
That's exactly what you can do with Ruby. Ruby is the virtual receptionist company that takes care of your callers when you're unavailable in the middle of something or simply don't want to pick up.
That's right. They can answer, screen, transfer calls. They can take messages, collect payments, book appointments, and more, all while making the people you serve feel special.
And best of all, it can help you be more productive. For example, 9 out of 10 lawyers who use Ruby log more billable hours per day than the national average.
And other professionals like plumbers and technicians win more customers while being able to stay focused on the job. But whatever kind of small business you run, Ruby is built to save you time, earn you more customers or clients, and make meaningful connections with the people you serve.
It's available 24/7, 365 days a year, and 100% based in the U.S. See why more than 15,000 small businesses use Ruby. Visit ruby.com, or better yet, call them at 844-900-RUBY. Hey everybody, here's a fact for you. In the United States, there is a break-in every 26 seconds, and that means that somewhere right now, an intruder is getting closer. And the problem with most security systems is that they only alert you after the break-in has started, and that's too late.
Well, that's what makes SimpliSafe different. They use alerts. SimpliSafe's U.S.-based live agents, they identify threats on your property and help deter them before they actually break in. So the intruder never gets into your house. The crime is stopped before it even starts.
That's right. And another great thing about SimpliSafe is they have no long-term contracts. They give you peace of mind and great value with their monitoring deterrence plans because they just start at about $1 a day.
Yeah, SimpliSafe sent us a setup years back, and I still use mine every day.
Yeah, and apparently setup, you can do it by yourself in under 30 minutes, so it's a really good value and it doesn't take long.
So if you want to experience the SimpliSafe peace of mind, you can take advantage of the SimpliSafe discount offered to Stuff You Should Know listeners. Right now, you can get 50% off your new system by visiting simplisafe.com/stuff. That's half off at simplisafe.com/stuff. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Work can be a little weird. One minute you're in a meeting that could have been an email. The next you're trying to decode corporate jargon that somehow means nothing. And don't even get us started on the quick sync that turns into a 45-minute deep dive.
Yeah, well, the truth is figuring out your career isn't always straightforward. Whether you're trying to grow, pivot, or just stay relevant, it can feel like you're navigating it all on your own. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in.
That's right. LinkedIn can help you grow your career, helping you confidently navigate your path with insights, ideas, and inspiration from your professional community. You can stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, connect with people who get it, and discover opportunities tailored to your goals, your experience, and what actually matters to you.
Whether you're looking for something new or just trying to grow where you are, LinkedIn gives you the tools and connections to move forward with confidence. Because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more.
All right. So quick recap of Hoffman from Irvine, basically saying that like everything that we're perceiving around us is a construct from a combined process of these evolutionary forces that are blind working in cooperation with the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And this, this can be hard to swallow. To some people, that might sound kind of goofy and ridiculous. People have come along, certainly, and this is pre-Hoffman, of course, but people have come along through the years to poo-poo all this.
Mm-hmm.
Great thinkers even. Someone like Samuel Johnson, he was an essayist in the 18th century and a great writer. He had it out with a contemporary of his, a philosopher named Bishop Barclay, not Berkeley, from UC Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
And he was basically like, dude, you can't tell me that these things don't exist outside of the mind. Like, look at this rock right here. And he went and kicked it and said, I refute it thusly.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, how can you tell me that rock is just a construct of my mind when I just went and kicked it and it made a sound and it was heavy and it hurt my toe?
That's where we come back to like John Locke and Plato and Aristotle and Galileo, especially getting it right, like basically out of the gate, that yes, these objects that we interact with in the universe, they have bulk, they have mass, they move or they don't move. They have primary characteristics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, if you kick a rock, apparently mass is part of the rock's primary characteristic, right?
Yeah.
But say the color of the rock or the shape of the rock or the shininess of the rock, that is not necessarily part of reality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
I think we've got it. It is mind-blowing for sure, but at the same time, it's just there's more to reality than we see, but it doesn't mean that there's some great mystery necessarily. I feel like we solved that. The mystery doesn't actually exist. It's just there's other parts of the universe we just don't sense, and there's nothing to it other than we didn't evolve to sense it that way.
Yeah. And well, we have great concrete examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the fact that when we see things, what we're seeing is just a small portion of what there is.
Yeah.
We see what a visible light on the spectrum. Like it's pretty narrow in comparison to the entire spectrum. But there are also gamma rays, and there are X-rays, and there are radio waves, and there are all these things that we can't see and detect with our human eyeballs, but we still know they're there because we have built machines and systems to allow us to interact with those things, like X-ray machines or radios that allow you to hear what's happening on those radio waves, but you can't actually see that stuff. So it's a good way of illustrating like what you know is just a very small portion of what there really is out there.
Yeah, but also one of the other cool things about it is we know that they're out there, and we've learned to build machines that can detect things that we can't perceive with our senses. Pretty amazing. And then we've built more machines to figure out how to interact with those parts of reality that we can't sense. So if you see an image from a James Webb telescope picture, right? And what you're seeing is there is a radio telescope picture. So the James Webb telescope sees in radio waves. We can't see radio waves, but part of its software converts radio waves into visible light spectrum, which we can see. So for all intents and purposes, when you're looking at a picture of a star that the James Webb telescope took, you're seeing that star in the same way we would see it if we could see radio waves.
Right.
So it's not like reality is forever out of our grasp. We're becoming smart enough to learn ways to sense it in other ways, or to convert it into things that we can sense.
Yeah, and this is when I thought of, and it sounds kind of silly, but I actually got a deeper appreciation of the movie Predator.
Right, yeah.
From this, because when I was a kid, I saw it and I was like, oh, that's cool. The Predator thing can see heat or whatever. What would it be?
Thermo-hottiness.
Properties? It can see heat. Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. And cool and stuff like that. It can see temperature.
Sure.
That's probably the easiest way to say
There you go.
I was trying to be all fancy. Which is true. And when you're a kid, it's like, oh, cool, that thing can see temperature. But this made me think of it in like a more philosophical way, that this thing is so advanced that it has gained a new, maybe not consciousness, but a new ability to see the unseen. Or
it evolved in a different type of pressure that favored being able to see infrared, so you can see temperature of things.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't necessarily make it more advanced, in the same way that butterflies can see UV. We can't see UV, but that doesn't necessarily mean the butterfly is more advanced than we are. It's just it evolved to sense the world differently, right?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. But it also kind of brings back a certain amount of humility to us, that we just can't interact with parts of reality because we didn't evolve that way. And it just kind of, I don't know, it knocks us down a peg, I think, in my estimation, and kind of reminds us like, hey, we're pretty great. We do a lot of really neat stuff, but we're still animals. Don't forget that part.
Yeah.
I like that. And then I think, to me, Chuck, the fact of the podcast is that if you take Hoffman's argument, there's an answer to that Zen question of if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, like you mentioned, does it make a sound? The answer is no, it does not make a sound. And then even further, there's not even a tree if there's no human around to see it or hear it.
Yeah, man. Oh, boy.
I love that. Like this, it's like, it's like Bart Simpson saying, what's the sound of one hand clapping?
Right.
They figured it out. I love it.
Oh, boy. I tell you what, man, every time and we haven't done these many times, but every time we tackle something philosophical like this, I'm upset for a little while. And I always come out the other side, I think, better for it. So
neat. Same here.
I'm glad you think of these things, because I certainly wouldn't assign these topics.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, what about elephants?
That was a good one. Remember, baby elephants suck their trunk like baby humans suck their thumbs?
They have no trunk.
Yeah, they do.
Trunks don't exist.
Man, you keep getting me with that one.
I know.
You got anything else?
No.
I don't either. So since we have nothing else about this, it's time for listener mail.
All right, I'm going to call this Smell-O-Vision. This is a pretty good one. Hey guys, couldn't help it, but I just finished the Smell-O-Vision episode, and I think you missed a real opportunity there, or they did rather, by calling it Sentiment.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a great idea.
That was a good one. I love the show, the wide range of topics you cover, the fun jokes and the banter, and even the occasional Chuckers reference. Obviously, the learning beneficial component is a huge plus, but I cannot find a term that I heard in one of your previous shows, and I need your help. Essentially, Josh mentioned a term that spoke to humans or any life form will take themselves after a certain period of time.
What?
If humans don't take ourselves out, I think you meant take ourselves out.
Oh, okay.
I missed the word. Take themselves out. So, in other words, if humans don't take ourselves out in X term, we will see a greater opportunity for long-term human existence. It's driving me crazy. I hope you have a reply. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I think what they're talking about is technological maturity. If we make it through what's considered the great filter, which is all the ways that we could possibly wipe ourselves out using technology before we learn to use it wisely. If we can make it through that, then we'll emerge on technological maturity, and we'll just live forever as a species.
Okay, I bet you that's it.
It's got to be.
And he finishes off, my wife is 7 months pregnant with our first child. You can spare a moment for a shout out to Stephanie and baby Cora coming in August to make a great birthday present. But Darren, we don't do shout outs. on the show. We get so many requests for shout-outs that we just can't get to them all, so we are certainly not going to shout out Stephanie and your amazing baby Cora that's coming in August.
Yeah.
We're just not going to mention them.
No, not at all.
So don't ask. Thanks for all the positivity, joy, and laughter that you spread in the world. It's much needed. Your Floridian friend, Darren Nutting.
Very nice, Darren. Thank you. And thank you also to Stephanie and Cora, who we're not going to mention. And if you want to get in touch with us like Darren did, you can send us an email to stuffpodcast@iheartradio.com.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Hey, quick question for the parents listening right now. When's the last time your kid asked for something and you actually felt good saying yes? Because lately, a lot of families have been hearing the same thing. Can I have Lingo Kids, please?
And here's the thing. Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids with more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows. Astronauts, wild animals, superheroes, dinosaurs. It's literally everything kids love all in one place.
So when they ask for it, you can actually feel good saying yes. Download Lingo Kids for free and start exploring today, or unlock even more amazing content with Lingo Kids Plus. And if you go with the yearly plan, you can save up to 60%. Just search Lingo Kids in the App Store or Google Play. Lingo Kids, everything kids love. You know, you could be adored by everyone and still completely ignored by your cat. Trust me, I know. But if you feed your cat Sheba, you can go from being ignored to truly adored in 12 days, guaranteed, or your money back. Sheba has a full menu of products, appetizers, entrees, treats, even a kitten's menu. It's so cute, so Sheba has a product for even the pickiest eater. Like Sheba Puree, it's made with bone broth, they're chef-inspired flavors, it's got a smooth and creamy texture that cats love, and contains no corn, wheat, soy, or artificial flavors. It's food that your cat's gonna love. To learn more, check out Sheba.com. That's SHEBA.com.
Stuff at Sea is a 5-night, adults-only sailing trip that brings the Stuff Podcast universe to life on board. This voyage is a culture-soaked escape where pink sand paradise meets curious minds. Sailing round trip from New York City to Bermuda on October 2nd to 7th, 2026, this voyage drops you straight into the iHeart Podcast Stuff universe. On top of the adults-only experience you already love, you'll get live podcast episode recordings, behind-the-scenes sessions, themed activations, and more unmissable onboard moments. Learn more at virginvoyages.com/stuff.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.